Hey, friends, welcome back to another episode of the Your Project Shepherd podcast. I am your host, Curtis Lawson, and we've been doing this podcast for 3 years as of about a month ago. Today's episode, I think, is number 130. That's a lot of episodes, a lot of time that I've spent here in the studio talking to you. So for this episode, I wanted to do a couple of things. A little reflection on where we've come from, where we've been, and looking forward to where I want to go with the podcast in the future. So I've learned a lot from doing this podcast over the last 3 years, and I feel like in that time I've grown as a builder, a coach. I've grown my industry knowledge a lot just from being a part of all these conversations that we've had. And it's absolutely true that the more you teach a skill and the more you help others, the more you yourself help sharpen those skills and grow personally. I found that the more I repeat and reinforce these themes, the better I and my company have become as a part of that process of doing it. So when I started the podcast, I had a vision to help homeowners, consumers. I kept seeing people make really, really bad decisions when it came to planning their projects and to building that right team for the project. And if you've listened to more than just a few episodes, you've probably heard me say that people want to believe that they can get something for nothing. And I think that's just human nature. Maybe not nothing, right? Because I do realize that spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars is a lot of money, and they should, that should be taken seriously. That's a serious amount of money. But for folks to want to believe that they can get a Mercedes for the price of a Toyota, or a filet mignon for the price of a chuck roast, that doesn't work. And so when people hear stories online on Facebook groups, things like, oh, my cousin or my sister got her house built for $275 a square foot, or they see production homes out in the suburbs that are selling for $175, $200 a square foot. They see that, and that reinforces that belief that they too can get their dream home for that price. And then they meet a builder, a contractor, who also tells them, yeah, I can do that. I can build your house for $200, $250, $275 a square foot. And so that is where the drama begins. And yes, there are production builders who are building and selling those houses for $200 a foot, but they are building that same plan over and over and over, hundreds of times, thousands of times. They're buying materials in bulk. They're buying materials at deeply discounted rates, and they're generally using lesser quality materials than what you would expect in your high-end custom home. And yeah, your sister might have gotten a house built for $275 a square foot, but how do you know what that number even includes? Was that $275 a foot based on air conditioned, heated and cooled square footage? Or was that based on covered square footage? What did that number include? Did it have landscaping and fencing and appliances, tearing down an existing house? What level of finish did she get? What was the quality of the product? And how much of a struggle did she have in that process? You don't know all the things that went into what that number was. So you can't take this price per square foot number, apply it to your situation, and think that's reality on what you can get. Another big question that often doesn't get asked: is the builder who did that work for that low price even still around? I would bet there's a good chance that if they did, they went out of business because they weren't making money, or because they got sued for one reason or another, which totally related story. I have to tell on that. I have recently gotten 3 jobs to do major surgery on homes that are all less than 5 years old, all built by the same builder. And this is a builder that I lost projects to in the past because the customer told me that he was so much cheaper than me and couldn't understand why we charged what we charged. So this guy built a bunch of homes in our area, close to where I live. And in just a few years, he built a bunch of these homes. And now guess what? They're all falling apart. And guess what? He's not in business anymore. And they're trying to sue him, but he doesn't have any money. So now these people are paying out of pocket to fix major construction defects. And if they just had the right process, just lived in reality, just hired the right company to begin with, none of this would be an issue. So off my soapbox about that. Back to what I was saying. People see these price per foot numbers, right? And they don't really understand them, and they don't have any context behind what those numbers actually mean or how they were arrived at or what the situation was around that number. So context and understanding is what's lacking, and that's what is key. So for people in the construction industry, what does that mean to you and I? Does it mean that we're just dealing with a bunch of uneducated consumers? Is the general public just clueless? No, I think that is, at the end of the day, that is on us, because we know better, or at least we should, and we have the responsibility to educate the public about our industry and what it takes to deliver the product that they're expecting. And it means that so many builders and contractors aren't running their businesses like a business. They don't know their numbers. They don't understand good practices. They don't have any processes. And they don't really own a company. They just kind of own a job. And what that means is they aren't being real with their customers or potential customers. They're not setting expectations. They're not educating. And so it's this self-perpetuating process where unrealistic expectation meets unrealistic or overstated ability to execute. And that is a recipe for major disaster. And so all of that is precisely why we started as a consumer-focused podcast, but we've really tried to transition more to an industry-focused podcast, because educating builders, educating remodelers, and people in the industry is going then in turn to translate into a better educated consumer. And when we have both educated buyers and educated sellers, the entire process is going to benefit. All right, so I want to take a bit to look back at some themes and topics that we've covered over the last few years, and then to look ahead to what the future might hold for the podcast. So honestly, the podcast thematically has been a little bit all over the place, and I think this is probably a direct reflection of me not having a really tight vision for the podcast. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Because we've actually covered a lot of ground, had a lot of really cool guests, and had some interesting topics. And I feel like we have done a good job of educating. But over the last 3 years, we've covered everything from how to plan a successful project, design trends and architecture and finishes, legal issues, insurance issues, lending and financing, a lot of building science topics. We had a lot of episodes with Toner and some other people around building science. We've talked about a lot of different products and technologies. We've talked about preventing and resolving conflict, and recently a lot on the benefits of trade organizations and associations and memberships and professional organizations and professional development. So that's a lot of different ground to cover. And for those of you who've been around for a while, you'll probably remember that we used our house illustration quite a bit, especially in the early days. And I used to say this at least once every episode, and I'll say it again for you one time, and maybe Francis can pop the picture on the screen one more time here. And that is that every successful project has 4 key components, which can be visualized by this simple drawing, this child's-like drawing of a house. The foundation is your team. The left wall is proper planning. The right wall is communication. And the roof, protecting it all, is proper execution. If you have all 4 of those components in place, your project is going to succeed. And I still really, really love that visualization, and I don't want to lose that message at all. But I want to kind of tighten up our vision now. I want to really dial in on some things that I think are at the root of that house diagram. And I want to talk more about what makes up those individual components of that proverbial house in the picture. So along those lines, one of the really cool things that the podcast has done for me personally has helped me realize my focus and my passion. And as I said at the beginning, my real initial passion for this and for this concept of this podcast was to help homeowners. And that is still a major focus, and that is still the ultimate goal. Because like I said, when we educate the industry, we are ultimately helping the consumer, the homeowner, right? So one of the big reasons that I've gotten into coaching, into helping builders one-on-one recently, is to that end. I've been working with Kyle Hunt and Remodelers on the Rise, and I think that's also why I've been doing more speaking at industry events and doing presentations at GHBA and IBS and different conferences is to kind of help educate the industry. But like Kyle likes to say, it's not about me. This is about me helping you. The good people who are listening to this podcast or are watching us, I'm here to help you, whether you're a homeowner, you're a builder, you're an architect, or anyone else in the industry who can benefit from this information that we're putting out there. So moving forward, I'm going to really dig in more on what I like to call the 3 Ps: people, processes, and profits. And actually, I guess you could say 4 Ps because there's also products in there as well. But I don't want to talk about products just for the sake of talking about a product or promoting a product. That's a lot of Ps I just said. People, processes, products, promoting, purpose. Whew, a lot of Ps. Anyway, I don't want to talk about products just for the sake of promoting the product. I only want to talk about products that are going to bring value to everyone in that vertical. So that means talking about products that promote, there's another P, promote. I just want to talk about products that promote good building science, or products that improve workflow, products that help create more resilient homes or foster better communication between builder, homeowner, design team. So if we're talking about a product, I wanted also to kind of fit into those main 3 Ps: people, processes, and profits, because those are the 3 things that are going to make the biggest impact, not only on the bottom line for the builder and the homeowner, but also for just a smoother and better experience for everybody involved. So in regard to people, I want to talk about building teams. If you're a builder, that means building a solid team of field staff, project managers, and also office support staff, administrative staff. It's about creating a culture for your company and holding people accountable. In regard to processes, it's about having a very defined, methodical approach to not only building homes, but also to your business in general. And those processes are going to translate into a healthier business. It's going to translate into happier employees. It's going to translate at the end of the day into happier customers. And so for homeowners, what I want you to understand is there are certain steps, a certain workflow that has to take place. There are certain processes that have to take place in order for things to go well for you too. There's certain steps that you can't skip. No matter how eager you are, no matter how much you want to save time, want to save money, there are no major shortcuts in building a home the right way. For profits, I want you to understand that in order for you, and I'm back to talking about builders, or talking to builders this time, in order for you to get to that 3rd P of profits, you have to have the first 2 Ps, people and processes, in place. So that's why when I first start talking to builders and coaching builders, I don't necessarily jump straight to the numbers, straight to the bottom line, and telling them to raise their prices if they want to be more profitable. We have to first look at your people. Do you have the core values in place to guide your company? Do you have the right people in the right seats? Do those people get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Have you given those people the processes to be successful in that? Once you have all of that, then you're going to in turn have a much easier time being profitable. And so then we start looking at that point how we can start tweaking those dials and pulling those levers to get your profits to where they need to be. And a lot of times that profitability is going to be helped tremendously just by having a high-performing team and by plugging the holes where you're potentially losing money. So if you're a homeowner listening and you're like, okay, why do I care if my builder's making a profit, right? You should actually want your builder to be making a reasonable profit for providing you a good home. If you don't want the builder to make a profit, then how do you think you're going to be delivered a quality product? How do you know that they're not going to be cutting corners if they're not making money, right? You're going to get what you pay for in those instances, which is another P. You're going to get a problem. So if your builder's not making money, you're buying a problem. A profitable builder is someone who's going to be using good products. So there's somebody who's going to be there for years to come if you have a warranty issue. They're going to be there to take care of you in the future. And they'll be there because they can afford to be there. They can afford to take care of an issue should an issue arise. And no matter how good your builder is, eventually an issue is going to come up. You're going to have to call them, and you want them to be there to stand behind what they built for you. So moving forward, people, processes, profits, and some products are going to be our real focus and our real mission for the podcast moving forward. All right, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about what impact the Your Project Shepherd podcast has had so far. People have asked me, Curtis, you seem to be spending a lot of time, a lot of money on the podcast. Do you feel like you're being heard? Do you feel like you're making a difference? And the answer is yes, absolutely. I've had numerous homeowners tell me that they've used us as a resource. I've had builders come up to me at industry events, at luncheons, and tell me they've been listening, they've been learning. I've had architects and other builders tell me that their clients have been listening to the podcast. People that I will never interact with, but an architect or a builder is like, hey, thank you for giving us this resource. You are helping our consumers make better decisions, which then in turn makes our life, makes our process go better. And I have myself gotten clients because of the podcast, both for Crafted and for Shepherd. I'm actually working with a family right now who first saw us on the podcast. They hired us as an owner's rep, and we are currently working together with them and their architect to plan their house. Then we're going to help them choose a builder and get the house built. So yes, the podcast has also helped me, but what I'm the most proud of, I think, is that the fact that it has helped other people in the industry have more educated, smarter, just more informed customers, because that makes their lives in turn easier. So yes, I feel like absolutely, I feel confident in saying that all this time, this effort, and honestly, the financial investment of it has totally been worth it. And that makes me want to reinforce my commitment to just helping continue this education for all the stakeholders in construction projects. Again, consumers, architects, engineers, designers, tradespeople, fellow builders. I want to continue to help bring you value beyond this first 3 years. So as I close out today, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to those of you who've supported us over the last 3 years. I want to say thank you to all the fantastic guests we've had, especially our repeat guests who've been on here so many times with us. People like Toner Kirsting and Jeremy McFarland and Matt Sneller and Ken Nelson, and so many of these guys who've been on 3, 4, 5, 6 times with us and shared their knowledge, because I'm not paying these people to come join us on the podcast. They are giving of their time to come be a part of this, to help bring value to you. And so I could not do this without all my great guests. And I just have to say thank you to all those people, especially to my awesome repeat longtime guests. And to you guys, the people who are watching us, listening to us on a weekly basis, thank you. Thank you for taking your time out of your day on your drive, at your workout or whatever, laying in bed at night. Thanks for taking the time to watch us. You guys are why I'm doing this. So I will ask you to continue to help me out by sharing us with your network. If you think that we bring you value, please send me to one person that you know, or one person that you think is about to plan a project, or a builder who's trying to learn and grow their company. Share it with one person. Do that favor for me. Let's work together to continue to make this a great industry. Let's continue to work together to uplift this industry and make this a better place for everybody involved. So that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you again, and thank you again so much for a great first 3 years. Let's keep it going.